What's the matter, France? Hey? Hey? What are you playing at? What are you playing at, France? We're not good enough for you? We know our country's not decent enough for you to visit? No? Apparently not. Answer me this. Answer me this. Let's have a look at this board here for France, shall we? Yeah, so let's see, I can go to Germany, Belgium, Spain, Italy, Switzerland even. Actually, I would like to go to Switzerland. And even Corsica. I can even go to Corsica and go down the coast. So why, France, do you not want to come to England? Looking at the top of the map there, I don't see a port to England. So we can go everywhere else in Europe, but you don't want to come to us. That's not very nice, is it? You know, I mean, we were willing to come to you with this one, but you don't want to come to us? Boo! Hey everyone, I'm Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple. Welcome to another review. Seems to be expansion central at the moment. First we've had this week you're getting a Time Stories expansion. You've got a Matches of Madness expansion, and now a Ticket to Ride expansion as well. So I don't know which order I'm going to release these in, but you'll get the gist. And also, France, don't worry, if you're French and watching this, that was tongue-in-cheek, okay, that introduction. I was just playing around. I just found it quite amusing that the map doesn't want to go to England but wants to go to every single other European country. I just found that quite amusing. So that was more for a gag, really. Anyway, today I am looking at Ticket to Ride, France and the Old West. Yes! Ticket to Ride, this game will never die. And I hope it never does. This is one of those games that really should be in the Board Game Geek Top 100. Objection! I've spoken enough times about, the fact that I find that system broken and that, but everybody going on about, always Gloomhaven, Terraforming Mars, Pandemic Legacy or whatever in the top 5, that kind of thing. Where's Ticket to Ride, eh? You want a game that is played by nearly everybody, that loads of people know about, that people who don't even know modern games have come across? Ticket to Ride is the one. And yet, I don't see it in the top 100, I don't think. I don't know, I'll double check. But, this should be... These sort of games are the ones that I think should be higher up on those lists. But I digress, that's a different topic. So, back on track, Ticket to Ride France and Old West. This is the 6th expansion pack to come out for Ticket to Ride. You can tell that, because it has number 6 on it. But handy for that. I think I own every single one for Ticket to Ride, except for one. I never got into Netherlands. Nothing against the Netherlands, but the whole thing with the toll stations, it didn't appeal to me as an expansion, and for some reason I kind of just skipped it. Maybe I'll get it at some point just so I can have a complete collection, but to be honest, I don't have Ticket to Ride Nordic Countries or Ticket to Ride Marklin either, because you can't get Marklin anymore these days. And Nordic Countries is specifically 2 or 3 players, and I don't often get 2 players to the table, so that would really limit me with that one. Plus, you only need so many base sets of Ticket to Ride, and I've already got Germany as well as Europe, and the 10th anniversary out of shot there. So, I've got a lot of Ticket to Ride. Suffice to say, I really enjoy this game. It's in my top 100, it probably will never leave my top 100. Now, it's not the best game ever for enjoyment purposes, but it is probably one of the best ever games just ever designed. How it's so accessible and how it's so simple for anybody to get into, and yet provides good fun without bursting the brain and without taking too long. So this one is a double map expansion. Yes, we previously have only had that with India and Switzerland. Oh no, actually we had India and Switzerland was a double map. Asia technically cheated. That was really just Asia. Just because you flip it and make it a different Asia, it's still technically Asia. We've had Netherlands, we've had, what else? We had Africa. Oh yeah, Africa on its own. And, and I've already mentioned. Ticket to Ride Germany was a base set, so 1 map. And we've had the UK and Pennsylvania, which Pennsylvania was pretty good. UK is still my favourite map to play. I think that one's definitely a favourite. Locomotives and the technologies, still my favourite. But, come back here you. This is still pretty solid. So, what I'm going to get into is I'm going to go into each section in detail, because this is two. France and the Old West. I'm going to start with probably my least favourite of the two first, and then go on to my favourite. So we'll start with Old West. The Old West is Old West America, and it's designed for 2 to 6 players. So that's quite a range. I think Asia's the only other one that's managed to do 6 players, so you don't often get 6. And to be fair, I don't want to play it with 6. You know, Ticket to Ride should be a nice, short, quick game. I like playing it with 3 or 4 personally. Usually, it depends on how many players you're allowed, but you've always got that cut-off point between when the double tracks come in. So I always like playing it on the setting where it's the most cutthroat for that particular section of tracks. So sometimes that is 5 players, but at that point I want to play with people who know the game well enough to go speed through. I was playing this earlier today, in fact, with 3 of us, and I think that's my favourite way to play it, because you don't get the double and triple stuff, at least in most versions of Ticket to Ride anyway, and it's quick turns. So I get the best of both worlds. So that's definitely my way. Anyway, Old West is a straightforward map where it turns the concept of being able to build anywhere completely on its head. Because normally you could build anywhere on the map. It didn't matter where you started from. This time you have to choose a starting city, and you can only build away from that city. Now granted, there's a few of you out there who I think who play Ticket to Ride in that style anyway, where you always keep starting at one point and keep going along the same route, which is all well and good. I've done that from time to time, but you risk giving away exactly where you're going to your opponent, so you gotta be a little bit careful. But this one forces you to do that. So you can't build on the other side of the map if you're starting cities at the bottom, so you've got to be careful about where you go. Apart from that, the only new addition is the fact that you can spend cards after you've claimed a route to get more cities. I think you can only have 3 more on the board, or 3 in total. And the idea is that when you have a city down, if any other player builds a route into one that's claims a route that involves your city, you get the points, not them. So if they want to get their tickets done, they've got to assess whether it's worth giving you the points for connecting to that city, but getting their ticket. It's a neat little concept, but it's not overly game-changing. There's only so many cities that you can have, and the board is, actually I'll get onto this right now actually. This board is huge. I mean, you imagine, that's how thick it is when it's folded. And you saw me having a palaver trying to fold it up in the intro, but this is big. I mean, I want to be careful because I don't want to rip it, but here we go. Oh, God. That's the board. Yeah, that's the board. There's a big board there. Hopefully I can give a better picture for you, but yeah, you're going to need a big table for this one. It certainly does take up the space. But the Old West one is nice. It's a very clear looking map. It doesn't look busy. I mean, you can get an idea from the map, but you can also tell from the back of this rule book, it's a very clean map. So it doesn't feel cluttered, it doesn't feel like there's all sorts of decoration everywhere. Nice and clean to see. Other than that, there's a pretty generic standard map. You just have the restriction on how you build. So it's a nice twist, nothing overly game-changing though. There is a quick little variant in there where you can have Alvin, this alien from the Alvin and Dexter expansion that came out ages ago. And you can basically try and get him on cities, and you get bonus points. To be honest, I wouldn't bother. It's alright, but the extra bit you've got to teach on top of that, as well as going around with it, yeah, I just don't bother with that variant. So the Old West is quite an easy style of Ticket to Ride. One that you could teach to newbies, because yes, you have got that thing with the cities, but then because you're saying that you've got to build away from your current city, it gives that player slightly less, like, oh my god, overwhelming options as to where to build. Because they know they can only build next door. So it's quite handy in that regard. Now, let's talk about the other one, the France map. Right, let's put this one back here. After all, whoop, come on. A bit of an unstable box, I do apologise. So this one is done for 2 to 5 players. So you can't have that magic 6. It has single, double and triple routes, so there's quite a variety of routes opening up. And it's a large map. And it will certainly teach you a lot about French geography. This one though is a very cool new addition. Normally, everything's pre-printed on the board, all the colour routes. This time, only the single ones are, and some of the neutrals with fairies. So it's like, okay, why are all these tracks blank? You know, they're not even neutral, they're just not really there. They're just the outline of the track. That's because you have these really cool sort of like pieces, which basically are the tracks themselves. These are what the colour tracks normally look like. And every time you claim cards, you have to build one of these tracks onto the board in a space that fits. There's one for the 5 length, one for the 4 length, and I think 2 to 3 of each of the 2 and 3 lengths. So you can hold someone up by taking the 5 pink, for example, and putting it somewhere where they either haven't got pink cards that you know of, or putting it near you and knowing someone can't nick it. But this means that the board is different every game, because everybody is building tracks in different areas for different colours. And to add even more variety, you have these overlapping tracks, where if you place a track down and it overlaps others, those other ones are out of the game. You can't build on them. So this 5 track could cover up a couple of easy little 2 ones, and suddenly it's like, oh, I've got to actually go around that now. So it does add a nice cool mechanic to the game, and I really like it. I think this is a cool concept. Does have one slight flaw though. Firstly, it does add a little bit to the length. Not a lot, but there's a bit more build-up in this, because obviously you may start with 8 cards instead of 4, but you still have to build the routes before you can really start putting stuff down. So you have to account for that extra time in building the tracks before you start putting the trains on the thing. The other part is that I found there were a lot of turns where you didn't really care what track you built. You knew where you wanted to build your tracks in order to get your routes, but you didn't really know whether you should try and scupper your opponents, because I might take this 4 yellow, for example, but do I put it near you, thinking you haven't got many yellows, or do I put it near you, even though I'm sort of telling you what you got to aim for? Have I just helped you? Have I not? It's a little hard to tell. So you really do need to pay attention as to what cards the opponents are picking up. If they're picking up lots of a particular colour, slap a track in front of them that is a different colour to what you think they have. It can make a big difference, but it's not one for newbies, because new people are not going to be paying attention to that kind of thing. And even most people who play this game regularly aren't going to pay attention to that. So France is definitely not one you to teach new players. No way. This is definitely one of the slightly more thinky ones. You've got to think, where am I going to plan these tracks? Can I scupper him over there? And other than that, it's standard affair. Get the ticket, Globetrotter bonus, longest route bonus, standard issue points for claiming the tracks. So the only real new thing is these. But it's quite cool. I mean, you've got to have somewhere to have a pile of these things, laid out. And obviously you've got the giant board and your train, so this one is definitely more of a table hog than other previous ones. But I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I like the fact that the tracks have to be built. I like the fact that means that the board looks different every game. Granted, we're just talking colours on the board, but the overlapping tracks do add an interesting element to it, and that extra little bit of thinkiness, meaning that, I actually do need to care about what cards you're drawing now. Makes this great, especially with a 2 to 3 player game. 3 players though, and 5 players, this is one of the has the potential to be one of the most mean Ticket to Rides there is. Now, it's not the most mean. Nordic countries is pretty nasty, and Africa is still probably the meanest one you can get. This one though can be pretty mean because you have to do it directly. In the other one you're building a track and it might not necessarily be scuppering your opponent by choice, you just want that track. But in this, not only can you block their tracks, you can also build the wrong track in front of them. And to add insult to injury, if someone puts out a 4 green near where they are and it's like, oh, that route actually is semi-useful for me as well, there's nothing stopping you from building on it. This doesn't give them possession of the route. So if you happen to have the colour card in your hand, especially if it's one of the small ones, I mean, it's harder to do with a 4 or 5. Let's say it was a 2 white. Someone puts down a 2 white on a spot and it's like, oh, I need to go there eventually. I've got 2 white. Yeah, you know what? I'll build there. Woo! Tempers can fly! You can potentially screw someone up pretty right royally in this one. and you've got to be comfortable with that. So maybe if you're not a fan of the meaner Ticket to Rides, maybe this isn't the one you should go for. I'm not saying it's super duper mean every single game, but there is a potential. I have seen it happen. It's cool when it does, personally, but you know, you have to accept that this is not one of those maps where you can sit there and just harvest cards over and over again. You are going to have to start playing them and taking advantage of other people's tracks as and when. So, yeah, I found it quite enjoyable. I don't think it's as good as, say, the UK map, and I still quite like the Germany map as well with the Meeples, but it's definitely up there. It's up there amongst my favourites. Maybe a top 3, maybe my 3rd favourite. Let me think. The UK is definitely my favourite, and I do quite like Germany. Switzerland's not bad, but then that's mainly for the ferries and that. I've kind of got bored of USA and Europe, to be honest. Africa is a bit too mean, and those cards are a bit of a convoluted mechanic. Asia's alright. Yeah, I probably could put France as my 3rd favourite. You know, UK, Germany, France, and then sort of competing for 3rd place would probably be, think Luke. The Pennsylvania one with the shares, that's pretty cool. And I suppose the Old West one isn't bad either. But yeah, it's definitely going to be France, UK, and Germany as my favourites. So, all in all, I quite like this expansion. If you like Ticket to Ride, it's pretty much a given you'll enjoy this one as well. But I think that, you know, definitely the France map is worth trying out. Just be prepared. Might be slightly longer, and you should not play with new players. Definitely not a gateway level Ticket to Ride. This is a step up, kind of to almost as finky as the UK map. So it's a kind of step below that one in terms of complexity, but I wouldn't teach this to new players. At least, not by choice. Sometimes I ain't got a choice in the matter. Because think about it. You've got to teach them not only the basic concept of Ticket to Ride, but now you've got to teach them this extra track bit. That they're not even familiar with how the normal game plays out, let alone when they've got to start building this themselves. See what I mean? Old West, you might get away with a new player, but again, it takes the original concept and turns it on its head. I would just use Europe, Nordic countries, or USA to teach new players. But like I say, that's just me. I'm sure you've got your own preferences. So, not much else I can really say. Table Hog, decent value, 2 maps, 2 good maps. One of my favourite ones, the France map, you know, a cool concept, and still the same, you know, decent artwork on all the cards, and, you know, plenty to sleeve if you want it. I must admit, I'm starting to get into the point where I can't be bothered to sleeve these anymore. I've already got a set of normal train cards sleeved, but ticket cards, I think I'm going to leave unsleeved from this point. Might at least save me a bit of money as well. And if you want to play white, you got white plastic trains as well. So, oh well, there you go. So, that's all I can really say. Personal rating, I would give this about probably an 8. I think it's solid enough. I think that the restrictions on it being, you know, not for gateway can hurt it slightly. And Old West is a decent map. It's okay, but it's nothing special. I certainly don't think... I'm not expecting many people to go out and like Old West more than France. But that's just me, like, speculating at that point. So, I'd give it a decent solid 8, personally. But I'd like to know what your favourite Ticket to Ride maps are, which ones, why, you know, that's what I want to know. Don't just tell me that Asia is your favourite. Tell me why Asia is your favourite. I want to know. So, sorry. I've done a lot of reviews tonight. My voice is going. So, that's it from me, and I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple review. So, doesn't matter whether you cover up their train track, build in front of them, whatever. Just remember it's only a game. No running over people with your trains, okay? See you next time, guys. Take care.